Hello, we're on to Psalm 82, a nice short psalm this one. It's only 8 verses long, but it's absolutely packed with things to think about, things to get our hearts around. So we're going to dive into this today, and hopefully at the end of it, there's a few things that will get us thinking. So just look at this. I'm going to read the psalm to start with at that length, and we should read the whole lot, shouldn't we? So it says, God presides over heaven's courts. He pronounces judgments on the heavenly beings. How long will you hand down unjust decisions by favouring the wicked? Give justice to the poor and the orphan. Uphold the rights of the oppressed and the destitute. Rescue the poor and helpless. Deliver them from the grasp of evil people. But these oppressors know nothing. They are ignorant. They wander about in darkness while the whole world is shaken to the core. I say, you are gods, you are all children of the Most High, but you will die like mere mortals and fall like every other ruler. Rise up, O God, and judge the earth, for all the nations belong to you. Well, that's some psalm all packed in there, isn't it? So let's just grab hold of a few key things. And I think this really comes down to challenging our view, our attitude, and how we, respond to people. And I think often our hearts are tested not when we respond to those that, our friends and those around us and those that fit with us in some way, but how are we beyond that to those that have more significant needs. So here, the psalmist starts by saying God presides over heaven's courts, and I think we can get hold of that. God is over everything, and it's a constant reminder. It's there at the start of this psalm. God presides over heaven's courts, and we can focus on the day to day. We can focus on what's going on now. We can focus on the situations around. We can turn a blind eye to some things, but we need to remember that God, He is God over all. He is God over all historically, but He is God over all in a future way. He has our hands, He has our time, He has our everything in His hands. God presides over heaven's courts. He pronounces the judgments on the heavenly things. He's bringing about His view in heaven. Now, here's the thing that I want us to get hold of. You see, we can apply this to our own lives. We can apply it to national and international leadership in different countries. But I think what we have to be careful of is that we don't push it out there without considering our own hearts, which we may not have the influence and the opportunities that powerful leaders have, but we still have opportunities and can address our attitudes and even address what we accept from our leadership. Now, we have to take our own responsibility there. It's easy to go, this is their problem, but when something's caught in our heart, it will affect how we act and how we respond. So here's some things that I think we can check ourselves on. It talks about handing down unjust decisions. Checking our own hearts where favoritism comes in. Like the Bible talks about favoritism in a number of ways. One of them, it says, don't give the rich person the best seat and the poor person the worst seat. In fact, it's the other way around. If you bring that discrimination, then you're building something into the church community that, well, it needs to be rooted out. We need to equally care and not make that judgment, based on someone's status, position, everything, and have an equal honouring and care for each individual, each person that we have the privilege of crossing paths with. And I think that is holding people like that, not getting, some people are famous, but can we be equally caring and honouring to the person that no one knows, to the person that is, has is famous in that sense. So this is unjust decisions don't favour one against the other. Favouritism, is something we need to watch in our hearts. That's different from this whole area of having friends and people we're close to, but it's a favouritism that is based on a judgment. So that's the first one. You're like, wow, society as a whole is full of favouritism, position, power, who you know and all that. Now there's a level of that that's going to always happen, but if it results in unjust choices, then there's a problem. If we stand up and say that's okay, that's a problem. It says, give justice to the poor and to the orphan, and uphold the rights of the oppressed and the destitute. This is something, it comes right through into the New Testament, when basically the Holy Spirit encourages people, encourages them, look after the poor, look after the orphan, look after those among you that have need, care for them, and make sure that you stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves, the oppressed, the destitute. And society today, in different ways in this country, has people in all those categories. But are we making sure that, as far as is possible, it's fair, no matter what? Then it goes, rescue the poor and the helpless, deliver them from the grasp of evil people. It's like, actually, who's going to stand up for the people that need standing up for? Now, some people have skills that they're able to use that to stand up, but let's be people that stand up when we need to stand up. One of my favourite passages in Job, and I think it's Job 29. It's funny when something's a favourite passage, but every time I have to look for it and find it. So it's 29 or 26, and it talks about sitting at the seat, at the gate. And as you read that passage, it talks about looking after the poor, the needy, the broken, the oppressed. And it then says that, I will receive honour at the gate, and people will acknowledge me and honour me. Why? Because I stood up for those that were under oppression, and I broke off oppression on them. And it's difficult, sometimes it's difficult to take a position and stand up for the underdog, because by the nature of it, the other person is powerful. And just because someone's powerful, just because even if someone's powerful and makes lots of good decisions, doesn't mean that we have to line up with them if they're treating people in bad and terrible ways. Basically here the psalm goes on, it says people that treat the poor, that treat the needy, treat the destitute, hand down unjust decisions. They're like people walking in darkness. They are a people that can't see properly. And it goes on, it says, hey, you're only children of God. Don't get trapped in that. So for you and me, I want to help us just to think for a minute. What's our attitudes? Now, some areas, maybe the people are difficult and the situations are challenging, and we don't feel equipped. But we're always equipped to be kind. We're always equipped, to support. We're always equipped to encourage others who maybe are doing something and supporting in a way we can't. So take a look at this, and are we those that uphold justice? Are we those that are fair? Are we those without prejudice and bias? And usually the answer is yes and no, because even when we've got levels of this, we need the Holy Spirit to reveal other things that we haven't seen. Bless you. Thank you for being with me. Look forward to being with you next time. Bye for now.